the true leaders have our interest in mind. And I can say this with an unbiased opinion. It's not because he's my co-chair, it's because he's my senator, and he's been here for us forever, and he's going to be the leader as we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a wonderful senator who is very inspiring, Senator KIrk Watson.
Thank you, and thank you all for having me here tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to be with you, and I want to just start by saying thank you to all of you. Thank you for every one of you that is here and playing a role in helping make sure we see progress in terms of stem cell research. I want to say two quick things about where I see things going and why I think it's important. Before I do that, I want to also say thank you to Representative Rick Hardcastle who's sitting right here. Guys, you got nobody that works harder for you in the state capitol to make sure that Texas takes a progressive and appropriate approach when it comes to stem cell research. And I want to say thank you. Two quick things. First of all, it's very important for us to understand that stem cell research makes a difference in what is going on in Texas in terms of our economy, and in terms of the education, and in terms of what we're doing with higher education. Being in a state that has some of the leading facilities in the world, such as MD Anderson, Scott and White, and other places, it's very important for us to be on the cutting edge of what's going on in this area of research. Imagine what would happen to these great institutions of higher learning if all of a sudden we sent out a message to the world that we're not open to medical research in the area of stem cell research. It'd be a disaster for us. So that's very important. One of the other things that many folks in this room know, in fact probably all of you know, it was just 2 sessions ago that we passed legislation that was groundbreaking legislation in the area of cancer research. $3 billion over 10 years in the area of cancer research. Now I will tell you, I take that very personally. I was very involved in the passage of that legislation because I'm a cancer survivor. I'm somebody who watched both his parents die from cancer and watched his mother fight. Billy Faye Watson had a great point of view when it came to life, even as sick as she was. When she was diagnosed at 41 years old, we basically were told, well, just too little time. There was going to be too little time. And her rule of life became, give me 6 months, because who knows what I'll see, and who knows what they'll come up with that'll keep me alive another 6 months. Well, what an attitude. And by the way, she then lived 21 years. And by the time, tough as a boot is what she was. And by the way, what happened was, by the time she passed, they had given her, or thrown at her, however you want to phrase it, everything modern science had to offer. It was great to see how science progressed and made a difference in her life. And so she got to see both boys graduate from law school. She got to see all of her grandkids born. A short, too short, but happy retirement with my old man. So it's important to keep, for what we're doing in the state, it's important to keep what's going on from an economic standpoint, from a higher education standpoint. But let me get real personal with you. Of course, I just told you a little bit about my mother and my personal history. But I've made a commitment, and I'll renew that commitment with you tonight. As I look around this room, and I know so many of you, in one way or another, are fighting things that the hope that good stem cell research can bring makes a difference and keeps you in the fight. My oldest son is a 20-year-old now sophomore in college. 20 years old. 15 years ago, he was diagnosed with type 1 juvenile diabetes. And I made a commitment to him at that point. He didn't understand it then, but he now understands it a little bit later in life. That if he would do everything in his power to stay healthy so that when there is a cure for that type 1 diabetes, he will be able to take full advantage of it, then I will do everything in my power money, marbles, and chalk to make sure that we find a cure for that type 1 diabetes. And that is why during this past legislative session, when we saw efforts to stop what I believe were improper efforts to block stem cell research in this state, I was willing to vote against the budget. I was willing to fight what I refer to as the dark rider, which was a rider that was put on with almost no, well, with no hearing. I say almost. I'm being generous if I say almost. No hearing, no ability for the public to play a role. And I will make this commitment to you tonight. To all of you that are here because your lives are touched in some way, either personally or as a family member or someone you love, is holding out hope that stem cell research will make a difference in your lives. I'll make that commitment to you too, that I will do everything in my power and I will fight as hard as I can to make sure that we have the kind of stem cell research that will mean a great difference in your lives. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for participating, and God bless you.